I got pregnant at 16, my parents disowned me and tried taking custody of my daughter. After 10 years my father was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and both want to reconnect with me and get to know their grandchild. I need help on how to handle this. I am very sorry if this is convoluted and riddled with grammar and spelling mistakes. At 16 I slept with my good friend Jared. The condom broke and my daughter was created. My parents, who were great until this point, didn't like that and wanted me to get an abortion. I couldn't bring it over myself to. I wanted to keep the baby. Of course my parents told me to pack my stuff and leave the house and their lives. So I did. I went to my friend's house and his parents took me in. They weren't thrilled, but they said that we all had to help as a new family member was in the making. At that time my friend and I started to develop feelings for each other. I had my daughter and about 2 months later Jared's brother came back into their lives. He was a recovering heroin addict. As we had the baby, my mother-in-law told him he could not stay with us. Eventually they let him stay more and more and he was spending nights until he had a relapse and stole a bunch of stuff. My parents got wind of that. They dug up a bunch of stuff and found out that my mother-in-law also fought addiction after an accident she had 15 years ago left her addicted to pain meds. So they called CPS on us and a whole ass investigation was opened. It was a dark time. I thought they were going to take my baby. In the end they didn't find anything substantial. But them calling CPS on me transformed into a tradition over the years. As it was a small town, every mistake I made got back to my parents. I was half an hour late to pick up due to my job. CPS charges because neglect. I was out after 10 p.m. with my toddler. This happened twice because we went to family gatherings. Christmas loads of people stayed at Jared's house because it was a big family. CPS because many strange men were there. They eventually stopped it because they were fined for calling them on me unnecessarily. If they had done it more, I think it could have been an offense. The last call was 5 years ago. Eventually Jared and I married when we were 23, and we are quite happy. We worked retail jobs and studied. It took us longer than average to graduate, but we did. With a lot of help of his parents. Jared is now an engineer and I work as a graphic designer. We were able to afford a big flat and finally moved out of his parents' house. Our lives look normal now. Anyway, a week ago I get a call from my mother who told me my father was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and that his ultimate wish is to see me and my daughter again. I don't really know what to do. Because while they didn't have to take care of me while I was pregnant, I wish they had at least supported me. And while I get that they were panicking because they thought I was going to be an unfit mother, they made my life hell for 5 years. Relevant comments. OP on if her mother apologized for how they treated her. No. In the phone call my mother mentioned that they regretted how they treated me. Comment. What are your husband's thoughts on potentially reconciling and taking his child around them? You reconciling with your mother and father is your decision. However, they've directly put your child and family in jeopardy on multiple occasions. Definitely get your husband on board before committing anything about your child. You can go and reconcile with them alone if necessary. Personally, I'd have a hard time accepting them having any connection if I was the father. They did all that horrible crap knowing they would pass from this earth someday. It would take some monumental effort on their part for me to trust them to meet my child. Way more than a phone call, though that could be the start. I agree with other suggestions that you should definitely meet with them first without your child should you decide to attempt reconciliation. OP. He is not a fan of the idea. He hates them for what they did to us, but he says that if I feel the need to do it, I should. Comment. Do you even know if your father's sickness is true? I wouldn't blame if you decide to not forgive them. They disowned you and made your life hell. Even if you do forgive them, you need to take it slow letting them back in. Meet them without your daughter in a neutral place first. OP. I have no reason to doubt that. Why else would they want back in? I am definitely having a hard time to think about forgiveness. OP on if her daughter would want to meet her parents. She hasn't really ever asked for her parents because her grandparents give her more than enough love. Update. A little over a month later. After some thought, I decided to first meet my parents alone. I wanted to make a decision based on their remorse and development as human beings. And they sadly didn't really change. When I agreed to meet, I also told them it would be without my kid. Why? But they thought they were going to meet her. They had bought presents and all. They were very disappointed, to say it lightly, when I showed up without her. They made no deal to hide it. But we talked. They failed to take any real responsibility for their actions. Every apology began with, "We are sorry if you." When confronted about the CPS calls, they say they were doing what was best for daughter. I got really mad but tried not to snap. They brought up every mistake I did as a young mother, and that they just thought I was far too young and irresponsible to have a kid. That daughter only turned up good because of luck. After they said that I laid down money for my meal, stood up and said, "Well, nothing has changed. You are still the heartless persons that threw me out years ago and made my life hell for 5 years. You will never meet her. She is happy and she has loving grandparents. They started to freak out saying that I couldn't withhold their grandchild from them. I just said that you lay in the bed you make. I left and haven't talked to them since. Mails or letters from them are thrown out on the spot. I will eventually explain to my daughter what happened to me and my parents and will give her the chance to meet them when she is older, but for now I don't want to deal with their BS. Edit. Guys, thank for your concerns, but I am non-US. Grandparent rights are not a thing where I come from. Edit 2. I think some of you are confused. I am not asking about advice of whether or not I should give in to my parents' request. That's what my last post was about. It's not unwillingness to reflect, it's a set decision. Also, yes, my daughter is in therapy due to her being traumatized by all that lovely CPS visit that were caused by my parents. So I in fact care my child is happy and healthy mentally as well as physically. Edit. Made at the beginning of the update. Apparently I have to make this clear. This is just an update post. I have taken my decision. My parents will not meet my daughter until she is older and wants to. More relevant comments. OP on if her parents would try to pick up their child at school. No, that doesn't happen at her school. The law here is very strict, so the school wants to assure their asses as good as possible. If they don't know you, you can't pick up the kid. If someone besides us picks her up, I or my husband would need to write an email to the school the day prior or call in the morning. Or else the kids can't leave. I had once an accident and my friend went to pick up the kids and they weren't let go till after I was called and received a picture of my friend. But thank you very much for the concern.